So we are going to start with questions. I would really appreciate it if you could, if you have a question, I know it's a little bit difficult, but if you could come up, because we are recording, so we want to have all the questions and the responses that we're going to give to your questions so that people who watch this later will have the benefit of really knowing what the questions were. So if you don't mind coming up, please.
It needs you to be close to the microphone.
Yeah, it's got to be close to the microphone or it won't pick up.
Or you can repeat what someone's asking.
Okay. Okay, or I can just walk over here, and I'll hand it to you, and then I'll respond. State your name, please, and your address.
My name is Lynn Dunlop, and I live at 217 Palisades Drive. My first brief question is this what they consider a Mello-Roos assessment?
No.
No.
it's not a no.
Okay. Secondarily, where do the fines that people pay for parking tickets or street sweeping assessments go?
Okay. So the fines that people pay for street sweeping go into the general fund, and they go, and not just street sweeping, but all parking violations. It all goes into the general fund, and those general fund dollars help to pay for the services that are being provided. So it helps to pay for street sweeping, it helps to pay for police law, parking enforcement. So that's where those dollars go. It pays for the operations that we're funding.
I don't need the microphone. I've been a resident of
Can you, first of all, name first and address.
Carlos Cordon, and I live at 321 Lakeshire Drive. And one of my questions is, I've been a resident of the same house since 1967, and this is the worst I'm seeing in Daly City. About a year and a half, and the city of Daly City, I used to call, every time the lights go out and leave messages, and they didn't even return my calls. The only person that really helped me was Mr. Fornesi. That's the only one who called me back and explained to me, but it's been really bad. But my question is, how much PG&E is going to put out of all this? Because that's their equipment, that's their problem too, right? Are they going to put it, they're the one with the work.
No matter what we're going to pay.
And the other thing is, it's a lot of waste of money in Daly City. My street doesn't need to be swept twice, every week. Twice a month would be more than enough. And, so it's a lot of waste of money that we can use it for the land. Thank you.
Okay, Scott, come on up. This is Scott Hart, the Government Relations Officer for PG&E, and he's our representative. So Scott, why don't you respond to that?
Sure, certainly. Thank you, and thank you for the question. PG&E has committed to work with the city when they replace their equipment. We will replace the equipment on our side. So that equipment will be taken care of at the same time. As far as we are replacing, and in fact, those of you that are on 460, everything on our side of that equipment has been replaced multiple times, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that for now it is working, and it will continue to do so. And so we are replacing, the photo eyes, the Kyle switches, the transformers. Right now, we're out of transformers. There's only one company in the whole country that makes these transformers. And we have back orders for replacement transformers. We used up all of our replacement ones that we had on hand in addressing this most recent wave of issues. And so, if I may, just a little bit broader context for this issue. This is a very unique situation to just San Mateo County and to Daly City. We only have 50 RO circuits in our whole system, and they're in San Mateo County. They do not exist elsewhere. We're in the process of removing the last few that are in the city of San Francisco. And this was, it's an antiquated technology, but it's a technology that was, at its time, state-of-the-art. And it was built to last. And for the most part, they lasted a long time. These are very robust, strong transformers that last a long time. Were not problematic. what we're experiencing is atmospheric issues, as well as a combination of the fact that we don't have any separation between our side of the equipment and the city side for a long time. That's something that's been recently rectified. So then we can separate the two so that if an issue happens on either side, it doesn't impact the other. For a long time, at least until recently when this new solution was found, any issue on either side and the whole system went out. And so if an issue happened, as Mr. Fuller mentioned before, when there was an issue with the wiring, that would also sometimes burn out our equipment. And so all the equipment, yes, our equipment is the part that generates. And so all of the equipment failures that happen on our side, but sometimes they are caused by both sides of the system. And we own that, and we've replaced it, and we continue to commit to replace. And as soon as we get a new transformer in, those on 366, which is currently out, we'll get that new transformer. And so.
How long?
Right
How
now?
long will it be?
How long? We're waiting, that's just it, we're waiting to hear from the manufacturer. It's gonna be at least a couple weeks. It's been in, we put the order in 2.5 months ago. And so, unfortunately, with only one company in the whole country, and in LA, there are a lot of these circuits still. They don't have the weather issues that we do up here. And so we're competing, and it's just, this was a very common transformer in the past. So we're also dealing with demand all throughout the country. Thank you. Sure.
Yes. Can
stay
I
here.
go
I'll
to
stay.
someone else just a second? Back there. Name and address.
Yeah, Greg Smethers, 265 Skyline Drive. Question: has PG&E considered working with the city financially regarding the reduction in these ROs? Because I know that those ROs are worth about $25,000. And then on top of that, you got the crews that got to go out there and work the system to get them back together. You're talking a lot of money there, and especially if they're going out time after time.
Excellent question, and you're right. As frustrating as it is for all of you, which I can't even imagine and understand, because I haven't had to walk outside my house in the evening and not have streetlights. But it's equally frustrating for us and expensive. The issue is, as a regulated utility, we cannot engage in a unilateral financial agreement with an individual city to address infrastructure problems or finance it on their side. We will replace our side of the equipment as soon as Daly City is able to replace their side of the equipment. We've committed to do that. We'll make sure that we coordinate and do everything to have our equipment ready to go. But we cannot unilaterally with one city say, we'll help you finance this. We're not allowed to as a regulated utility, because that would be seen as showing preferential treatment to one city over another.
You know, I think you stated that we have about 50 ROs in the system still.
Yes, sir.
Address it as an RO issue, and that way you can address all of the other cities too.
I think the issue is, though, that Scott mentioned, it's not, there's 50 here in San Mateo County. There are a lot of them down in Southern California, which he just said.
That's not
So, which is, it's outside of their service jurisdiction, but the point is that these things are, they're still existing, not just in PG&E's jurisdiction, but in Southern California Edison and others. So they're a viable system. Why they're not viable here, we've tried to outline for you. We had a meeting with PG&E at the CPUC to talk about these issues. They understand this is a state regulator. We had a meeting with them to talk about the frustration and the issues that we've had with PG&E in terms of the long time replacement periods each time something happens. And the CPUC understands it. John, I don't know if you want to talk about anything they said and what the expectation was.
The bottom line is that the California Public Utility Commission can't control Daly City because they don't regulate us. They regulate public utilities like PG&E. Essentially, what I got out of the meeting is that they expected PG&E to try to take more, what do you call it, to look at streetlight failures as a higher level type of failure. Like if your house goes out or business goes out, those are called level 1 circuit failures. They're supposed to respond ASAP. Because streetlights are normally not considered a high level because they go out one at a time, response times are not the same. They don't classify them as a level 1. And I think what the CPUC said, well, for ROs, they're class 1. You need to respond more aggressively than you have been. And I believe that PG&E is going to try to do that in the future. But that doesn't resolve the fact that these systems are getting old and we are going to be facing problems, even if we respond faster. I mean, if you can imagine if the one manufacturer who still manufactures RO transformers stopped manufacturing them because it wasn't enough profit in it, we're out of business. We don't have the equipment anymore that'll actually run this system. So most agencies that I'm aware of are trying to get rid of these RO circuits over time. The city of Milwaukee, for example, because most of that city developed when ROs were the thing, they have $30 million worth of RO circuits at least, and they're spending $2 or $3 million a year to try to get rid of them. But for that city, even though they're spending a couple $1 million a year, it's still going to take them decades to get rid of them all. But they're trying to get rid of them too.
We'll get to everybody's questions, I promise.
Good evening. My name is Janice Daniels, and I live at 1260 Southgate. I was wondering, with all of the difficulty in getting this product, what are some alternative sources of energy that might be provided for lighting? Solar energy, is that we need to start looking at? But what are other cities doing that have this issue with city lights being out? I'm just curious to know. I'm sure other cities have this issue, this problem. Thank you.
In this county, the city of South San Francisco had ROs. They've actually, because they have more money, if you looked at that one slide, if you calculate out how much money they get, they get as much money from property taxes as the city of Daly City, and they have half our population because they have a higher tax base than we do. They have a lot more commercial properties, a lot more commercial property tax base, and they were able to afford to convert all their circuits. South San Francisco doesn't have any more ROs. They got rid of them all. San Bruno is investigating ways that they can try to get rid of the one or two that they still have. The city of San Mateo was lucky enough to get one of only, I think, 3 California Energy Commission grants that was really a energy conservation grant, but they wrapped their RO circuit elimination into that. They got a $3 million grant, not just for that, but for a whole bunch of other stuff. And we looked into that after we found out that San Mateo was lucky enough to do that. And that program still exists, but the waiting list to get it shot at that grant money again is long. And then cities like Milwaukee, they're just ponying up the money and trying to get rid of them. As far as other energy sources, it's really not an energy source problem in terms of the actual energy in the wire. It's getting the electricity into the wire that's the issue. You could go out in this neighborhood, for example, and replace every streetlight with a individual standalone solar light, but again, that would cost a lot of money as an alternative, and then completely drop PG&E. Either one.
Hi, my name is Grant Gordon. I live at 265 Highgate. I'm in RO 406. And I have a fourth solution that I'd like to throw out there. So my solution is using the sharing economy to fundraise. I think we can if not pay for this totally, we can offset some of it. Crowdsourcing is one option, but I'm a Lyft driver. And, the sharing economy, for instance, 80 to 100% of the fare stays in the local economy. They also, with promo codes, we can raise money. I've already created a promo code for Daly City Lights, and I think as a community we could promote that, and I'll just donate what we make from that to this project. So using
terrific.
social media, we could, I think, garner support from the rest of Daly City by using that. And so I'd like to submit a proposal or talk to you further about this, because I think it could work.
I think it's a terrific idea. We certainly can talk to you about it, and if we can get it going, I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
Is that similar to like when you make a purchase at Target and you can have a portion of your proceeds go to a school of your choice? Something similar to that?
Similar.
Similar, but a lot more of it will
Intense.
go, well, in this case, 100% of it would go to the project. I think traditional businesses do create jobs in our community, but I think they're taking a lot more money out than they're putting in. And I think the sharing economy is much different, in that more of the funds stay local and less go elsewhere. So it's a win-win for everybody.
I think it's a great idea. We definitely will,
Yeah.
we'll be talking about this one for sure. So
Okay.
we have your name and address. We'll be following up with you.
Okay.
Hi, Phil Obers, 34 Carmel Avenue. I'm in section 460. And initially, I was going to say, I received a letter in the mail here about a week ago about this slurry being done. And I was going to say, hey, why can't we cancel that for 1 year? But I see from your talk that that's designated funds, so we can't. But when you mentioned about the newest system going to LEDs and such, you didn't really say how that, what kind of equipment. Are we still going to have some kind of a transformer out on the power poles and with the with all the other equipment, or is it going to be something totally brand new that's going to hopefully stay around in the field for a few decades?
The replacement system would be essentially brand new. We would try to utilize poles, pole bases, pole boxes where we could, just to keep the cost down, because that kind of infrastructure really is relatively resilient, and it's the same whether you build it today or you build it tomorrow. But yes, there would be like a new transformer, but it'd be a different kind of a transformer. It's the kind of transformer that represents about 99.999% of the transformers in PG&E's system. It's a dumb transformer. It's just a lump of coil wire. It's not like an RO transformer that has moving parts in it. So it's a technology that's been around forever, and it's going to be used on your house today. It's probably going to be used on your house 40 years from now. It's the same kind of a power source that gets electricity to your house. So yes, what it gets replaced with would be something that is going to be around forever, probably, because it powers pretty much the entire PG&E secondary system.
Would they also put it into the parallel that the rest of the city is?
Yes. Yeah, that's what we would do. These are called series circuits, where all the lights are on one single wire that runs all over the place, but it's only one wire. In a parallel streetlight system, there's two wires that run to every light, and that's the difference. That's why we would have to rewire the whole system in order to convert it to a parallel system.
So if any of you have heard in the past John describe the RO system, it being like Christmas tree lights. So if one goes out, they all go out. And so trying to identify which one has gone out in order to be able to assess whether it is in fact an electrical system on the city's part versus a power issue can also take a lot of time because of the way the circuitry on those systems is installed. So that would change with a parallel system.
My name is Guy Marston. I'm from 15 Monterey Drive. This topic about lights being out has been going on for the last 10 years. I remember having the same meeting. There was a meeting at Our Lady of Mercy Parish Hall 10 years ago. And I would like to know, I brought up the same topic over there when it was done by the police captain, Captain Corey. And the very same topic came up there, saying that street lights are off. How can we ever report a crime to the police department? I had two city council members sitting right there and one city manager sitting there, who both approached me and told me, if this ever happens again, let us know. But why did it take you so long to bring this meeting up to talk about the city lights, about our lights? And then number two, why should the taxpayer be paying for it? I find that, first of all the city workers need to take a cut in pay. The city council members to take a cut in pay and put this money towards fixing our lights on the street, because this has been going on for more than 10 years and we need to have some solution. We need to be the CEOs of this city, not the city council members, not anybody who's working for the city. We, the people, need to be the CEOs. We need to decide when each city council members and the city workers get a pay and raise. We need to take that money and put it towards getting our lights done. So I put this question back to you all as to why is it taking so long for you all to have this meeting and to fix these lights, when it was 10 years ago that I already mentioned about it.
Well, thank you. I was at that meeting, so I know. And as I said, it's been more than 10 years. It's actually been 16 years that I'm aware of, and I think for some of you who've lived here a lot longer, you're probably aware, although back then you probably haven't had the outages like we have today. This didn't just happen the last 10 years. The particular area where you live, that was when it first started. Some of these other areas had had it before, and there were other areas because we have replaced one. And so this has been an ongoing issue, but not to the severity that it is today. And that's why we're having this meeting. We had a meeting at Our Lady of Mercy Church at the community room to talk about it because people were afraid of crime issues. It was not a streetlight meeting, it was about crime. And one of the issues that we talked about was the perception that if the streetlights are out, that can contribute to crime. And it's an issue now. I mean, we've heard that from people who have responded back to us. It is a very real issue. I think that we have not seen any real serious increase in any kind of crime as a result, thank goodness. But it is the perception, and the perception can be as bad as the reality. So even if people's perception of being unsafe exists, then that can be as bad as the reality that it really is causing additional crime. And I agree with that. It is a question of cost. And I explained earlier where your tax dollars are going. And your tax dollars are going to provide every single service that you're getting in the city. And with respect to the comment that you made about public employees, the city employees in Daly City have not had a raise since 2008, when we cut our salaries voluntarily because of the recession. And in order not to have to cut services to the public, we cut our own salaries. We have not had a raise since. So the perception that we're getting big raises all the time, not true. Not true. And we all have the same kind of expenses as all of you. We have mortgage payments, we have all those things, and we haven't had a raise since 2008. when we cut our salaries. So I appreciate the concern, and I appreciate some of the comments that are made that, we could cut street sweeping and we could save a lot of money. It would not save the amount of money we need in order to replace these lights. And we are mandated by law to do street sweeping because it keeps...
Every week?
Yes, every week. Every week. We are mandated by state law because it keeps trash and other particulate matter out of the storm drain system so that it doesn't pollute our oceans. We are legally required.
City, they only sweep twice a month.
San Francisco has a lot of other...
We are under the basic, we're all cities in the Bay Area have to respond to the Regional Water Quality Control Board's regional permit for stormwater discharges. Their guiding principle is you can't do less than what you're doing now, and we want you to do more. So a city like ours that has been doing weekly street sweeping for a long time cannot reduce our level of service without risking being fined. And I mean big fines, like $10,000 a day.
And affecting the environment.
The Regional Water Control Board doesn't consider it a waste. That's the problem. You want to go talk to them, you can go talk to them. But they're the ones who can fine us.
Okay. You've been waiting patiently.
Hi, my name's Lori McInerney, and I live in 53 Glenbrook, and I'm in section, or RO 406. And I have two questions. The first one that concerned me is that the next transformer is going to go to 360. So how long for 406 before that's repaired? We are a short block. Sadly, economic downturn, we've lost 2 houses to foreclosure, and we have had an increase in crime. We have had squatters who have moved into those houses without anyone knowing because they're able to come over the back fences, they're able to come in at night, and no one has seen them. My second question is, if we go with this assessment district and you say it's 2 years, and this is a weather sort of thing that's causing this to happen, if we're to believe what people are now saying, that we're going to be coming up into an El Nino year, are we looking at everything going out again?
Both very good questions on the replacement. John, you want to speak to that?
Our RO 366 is getting the next new transformer because right now they have no transformer. There's the pole has no transformer on it, and they have no lights. So they get the next one that's coming down the line. PG&E told us in a meeting just last Friday that they are going to be ordering 4 transformers, new ones, to keep on hand, 220 kilowatts and 230 kilowatts because of the two sizes that depend on the size of the circuit, so that they will have more brand new transformers on hand. And they're a hell of a lot more expensive than $25,000. The little ones are about 40 grand and the big ones are about 60. So PG&E is basically spending about $200,000 to pre-order some additional brand new transformers. When those transformers will get here, I don't know. I don't think PG&E even knows, because you have to get in line and wait, because there's only one factory making them. But once 366 gets its transformer in place, everybody will be up and running, hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, that nothing else fails, until the next failure happens. I don't think that PG&E will actually take a old transformer out of service and use one of the new ones until something actually fails.
And with respect to the question about the potential for El Nino storms this winter, it is a concern. But even in the best case scenario, even if we had the ability right now to write a check to install new streetlights, we wouldn't have it done by then. So, we're going to have to continue to do what we're doing to keep the system up and running, and hopefully PG&E will be able to create some sort of inventory to make sure that they have transformers available in the event that, with some of those anticipated storms, that we have more outages. Okay, let me get back here because they haven't had a chance, and then we'll go back to the repeat questions, okay?
Yes, I have 2 questions. I'm Sharon Keenan from 207 Lakeshire Drive, And we've heard what you want to do and that, but we haven't heard how many of these RO units are in the area that's blacked out, how many telephone poles are in the area, what the cost is. We need to see some kind of financial, because some of us, in fact, most of us in that area are senior citizens, and that we can't afford a big hit because we're already on Prop 13, because I've been here since they built it. And secondly, why can't we apply for a bond with an oversight committee so everybody thinks it's on the up and up and pay that back?
So, both good questions. One, as I mentioned before, when I talked about how an assessment district could be formed, we would have to, if the council directed us that that seemed to be something that they would be willing to put before the voters, then we would have to do an engineer's report. So we would then collect all the data. We would count every single poll. We would know exactly how many in each section, each RO. We'd know the cost for each and every one of those polls, all the details. Right now, we haven't done that because it would expend a lot of time and effort, and we don't even know if an assessment district is something that's going to fly. So we haven't spent the time. But once the decision is made for us to go forward, if it's made, then we would provide that, and we would have a public hearing, and you would be invited here, and every detail would be spelled out. Every cost, how much it would be per parcel, and then how long the assessment district would run and what you would pay each year. Everything would be spelled out in black and white. Every single detail. It would be fully transparent. So you would know exactly. Now, the difference between that and bonding for it is obviously the interest rates with a bond. We end up paying more over a longer period of time to pay for it. With the assessment district, it actually, everything is built into the cost, and so we are, we have an assurance that the revenue is going to come in to pay it off over time. So it ends up being more cost effective to do it that way than to issue bonds. And particularly because with bonds, like for example, the school districts, okay, when they do that, but it goes across everyone in the whole city. The assessment district for this particular issue would not be. So the cost seems a lot less because it's spread across everybody, all the voters in the city, when you do a bond.
Owen Daniels, 1260 Southgate. Question for PG&E. You mentioned that Southern California, it has a lot of these transformers. Can we get a couple of theirs?
Sorry, in Southern California, sorry, it's their railroad in district that uses them. But as far as getting spares, what I'll do is I'll check on that. I can't imagine that we didn't, because I'll be honest, this is something where we looked far and wide, and it's not, we don't like leaving a transformer not sitting on a pole. Number one, it's not generating energy, so it's not generating a bill. So, but not that we make money off of energy, but if nothing else, just know, because we don't. But
they want the city to pay the bill.
Yes.
But anyway, it's one of those things where, we really, it's not something, we don't, my superintendent who has met with Mr. Fuller multiple times, something that we've run all the way up through our chain, all the way up to our senior VP that oversees all of electric operations. And it's something that we're trying to do what we can. And we ordered 2, so we're hoping the 2 will come in quickly, and then we ordered, as Mr. Fuller mentioned, we ordered 4 more. So, and just, a little bit of explanation is, in this, I came, actually my 3rd week on the job, I met Mr. Fuller, and in that meeting, he mentioned, knock on wood, with my colleague that came and met with, that, the ROs had been doing okay, and that was 3 years ago. And they've been okay for about a year. So now you can imagine what happens is we've had these ROs sitting on a shelf. We have them sitting there waiting. And so that means there's potential for them to over time. So you're not going to keep a whole bunch of them. So that's why when this recent rash came through, we burned through our supply of reserves. As soon as we knew we were going to burn through, we put in the order, but like I said, a couple months ago. And so, and when you don't know, because we can't forecast when this issue was going to come, because once again, you know, we had about 4 years where it hadn't become this large of an issue. Now granted, when a single light goes out and your whole string goes out, that obviously, you know, it reminds you every time that you're on an RO circuit in that sense. So, but, you know, once again, I'll find out for you if we did reach out. I can't imagine that we didn't. And also I'll find out if I can get a better scope on the timeline on the next round of ROs that are coming, so that you'll know we have invested quite a bit to be able to have that stock. And the best thing that can happen is that they sit on the shelf and rust for the next 4 years again. But once again, we have made that commitment.
And we'll make sure that when Scott gets back to us in a timely way, like he said he will, that we will send that information out to you through social media or on our website and other means, so that you'll know the answer. And as we get reports back about when they're arriving, we'll put that out to you so you know as well as the city.